Hello everyone, my name is Anishana and in this lesson we will try to learn how to install the Prometheus. Installation and configuration of Prometheus can be tricky, especially for the beginner. It requires understanding of various configuration files and parameters which can be overwhelming. But we will try to explain in a very simple way so that you can understand everything in a layman language. So let's start with the agenda of this video, of this lesson. First, we will try to understand the prerequisites of installation of Prometheus server. After that, we will talk about latest packages and install from where we can get the latest packages and how we can install the Prometheus server. After that, we will try to create the services as per the security reasons. Whenever we are installing any applications, it should be running a separate service and separate users. Then we will try to understand the Prometheus configuration file and how we can start, stop, or check the status of Prometheus server. In the last, we will try to navigate the URLs. I will show you some basic step. That's it, so that you will not going to confuse. And slowly, we will learn everything. Okay. From this lesson, what you will going to understand, or you may able to answer the question are what are the system requirement for installing the Prometheus on VM, how you can download the Prometheus binaries for installation. After that, what configuration files need to set up for Prometheus after installation, and how you can start and verify Prometheus services are running on the VM. Here we are talking about only the standalone VMs. Okay, so let's start with the very first one. As to install the Prometheus on virtual machine, you need to ensure your system meet the following requirements. The first one is operating system. It should be Linux or Windows like operating system. CPU, at least 2 CPU you required. Memory, at least 4 GB of RAM it required. And disk space, at least 20 GB free disk space is available when you're going to install the Prometheus server. Okay, so these are the basic requirements you should know. And the network port open 9090. The reason behind is that this Prometheus web portal will be open on 9090 port number and 9100 for node exporter. I will explain you, don't worry. Just remember for the time being is 9090 is for Prometheus server. Okay, Prometheus installation, a step-by-step guide. First, we're going to visit the official Prometheus website so that we can download the latest version of the software. I don't know when you are going to watch this video, so you should know direct from the horse mouth, right? The binaries are available for various operating systems including Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. After that, the official web page is this one, Prometheus. Let me open the pen here. So this is my Prometheus website. Once we downloaded the package, then we need to extract the downloaded packages to the directory of your choice. This will provide you with the necessary files and directories to run the Prometheus server. In the last step would be to customize the Prometheus configuration file, prometheus.yaml file, to specify the data source you want to monitor. Describe, it means that we will not in this lesson, but next lesson we will going to add some client machines and it will scrap the machine after some interval that we're going to define, and I will explain you in this today video, and additional settings according to your requirements. So this is what we are going to here. Managing Prometheus services. To start the Prometheus services, navigate the extracted directory and run the following command. So you need to execute this command here. It's just a theory part. This will launch the Prometheus server and start collecting data from the configured data source. That's it. After that, check the Prometheus status. How we can check the Prometheus status? We can open the portal here or we can execute the command. I will explain you in the lab part here. Okay. And the last, how to stop the Prometheus server. To stop the Prometheus services, simply press Ctrl C in the terminal here. If you're not configured any services. So we just need to control C. It will stop the services. That's it. Alternatively, you can create a system services. This is what we are going to create here. System D services to manage the Prometheus process and use standard system CTL command to start, stop, and check the status of the services. Okay, fair enough. Let's understand the before we are going to install the Prometheus server, let's understand the Prometheus configuration file. The very first one is global setting. Here we need to define scrap interval, how much it weight to scrap. It will pull the data from the client machine. Here it is mentioned 15 seconds. It means that every 15 seconds it will pull the data from the client machines and evaluate the intervals. Here I will show you in a couple of minutes what global settings says. The global configuration specify parameters that are valid in all configuration contexts. They also serve as a default for other configuration sections. Scrap interval, how frequently to scrap target. By default the default time is 1 minute. You can override here. In this configuration file, I have override from 1 minute to 15 seconds. It's all up to you how you want to proceed. Scrap in timeout. How long until a scrap request timeout? The default is 10 seconds. The scrap timeout option is in Prometheus is crucial configuration parameter that determine the maximum duration Prometheus will wait for target to respond to a scrap request before considering it a failed attempt. Okay, it's not like that it sends the request and waiting for 1 hour or 2 hour, right? So the default is 10 second. After 10 second, it marked the client machine as unavailable. When you execute the command up, it will show you down. Okay, the last one is evaluation interval. This is what I have mentioned here. How frequently to evaluate rules? The default is 1 minute here. Let me Here we have defined the rule files. Not this lesson, but in the coming lessons, I will going to configure the rule file, and then this global parameter file option will evaluate the rules. When you modify any rules, it will evaluate every 15 seconds. If you have not mentioned this line here, it will be 1 minute. The same thing here, I have not defined scrap timeout. It means that it take this 10 second as a default. If you have not mentioned anything, it will take as a default. Okay. Further, scrap config. Here we have defined the job name. Job name means a client machine name, or you can say that okay, I have Nginx services running here. Front-end Nginx services are running on my 5 servers. So I put it here front-end Nginx as a name, and then I will add all the 5 node IP address here. As you can mention here in this job name, I have modified the scrap interval equal to 30 seconds, but my global setting is 15 seconds. When we define inside the scrap config, it override this value only for this job, not for all. Okay. Scrap timeout is 5 seconds. Here I have not mentioned, but here I have mentioned. It means that it modify the this value global 10-second value. Further, so this is my timeout 5 second here. Static config target is local host. It means that I want to monitor the self host in the first attempt, and the port is 1990. I will going to use it. That's it. This will be a simple configuration file. Okay. So let's start with Prometheus installation lab. Let me open my GitHub page here. If you're not following me in the communities web series, then I would like to inform you that for every labs, I have already added all the labs on my GitHub page, and I will share my document on my this GitHub page here. Okay, click here, and then installation of Prometheus server. You need to click here. After that, click on lab MD file. Now create a user for Prometheus server. In my second video, I have mentioned that I, I will going to install this Prometheus on my master node. For that reason, I have already logged into my master node, and as you can see here that I'm running 1.29.8 version of Kubernetes, but here I'm going to install on the VM. Okay, it is nothing with the this Kubernetes cluster. I'm just using my Kubernetes cluster, but it is installing on a simple VM. So don't get confused here. We will going to install the Prometheus in the Kubernetes cluster at the end. So let's say first we are going to create the user without the home directory. The option is -m I can use here. And if I want to use all what commands are available here, I just use user add and it will show me all the option what I can use here. Okay, let me clear here. After that, create a user Prometheus, and here I'm using the shell as bin false. I don't want to give any logging prompt for this user. For the security reason, I'm just going to create one user so that this user will be bind with our Prometheus installation file. Okay, let's move forward. And first I need to create two directory. One is for Prometheus and one is for Prometheus storage. I will show you, don't worry. And let me create one mkdir blank directory here and then go inside this directory. Now I can download the latest package from here. Let me show you the web page here. If you go to this URL prometheus.io and click on download, you will see all the download packages here. The same I have mentioned here. Copy the link, this one, and if I go here, Prometheus, what version you want to install here, I'm going to install 5.52 here. 5.53 is already released here. It's okay. You just need to right click and copy the link page. That's it. Any tar file you can download here. Okay, and I'm using Linux, so I'm using this one. Copy the link page here. When I created this lab, it was 2.52. So let's proceed with 2.52. All the steps would be same. Okay, right click here and it's going to download. Okay, now it is downloaded here. Let me clear the window here. After that, extract this downloaded package tar file here. Let me show you ls space ltr. So let me extract here. And after that, I need to go inside this directory. Now I can see here that multiple files are here. So these are the binary files here. Executable file here, Prometheus and Prom tool. So when we downloaded and extract this file, we have this command and this command, Prom tool. In this directory, you will observe two files, that is Prometheus and Prom tool. Copy both the files in USR local directory so that we can run these commands without specifying the absolute path. I have already mentioned here how we can, in a single step, it is copied. Assign the privileges to Prometheus server, and this user we have already created here as I mentioned. Let me get the privileges here. One can observe two directories, console library. Copy these directory into a newly created directory, that is Prometheus. The easiest way is here you can copy both the directory in a single way. -r is for recursively. These are the directory here. I just copied. I can move also. It's okay. Now it's time to copy the configuration file of Prometheus into the directory etc Prometheus. Let me copy this configuration file here. Due to the security reason, we are executing these commands. Otherwise, we can execute a simple command here and it will run. I will show you in a couple of minutes. Don't worry. Modify the ownership of this file. Obviously, we need to modify. -r is for recursively. It will modify -r. Modify the ownership of storage file. This file I need to copy here and give me this privilege where lib Prometheus. As of now, I just copied all these directories here, but when I'm executing this command Prometheus hyphen config file etc Prometheus, it will run, right? And if I remove these lines and put it here Prometheus, you will observe that without any issue. If I control C, it will stop. Now I want to check from all the steps what I have done, all are good. Control C. Let's move here. As I mentioned before, that we can also create a system D services and then enable this service. Thus, in future, our Prometheus server or my VM is rebooted, then this service should be come up again, right? Without a manual intervention. For that reason, I'm just going to create the system D service. Here. The name of this file would be prometheus.service here. And I've just mentioned everything here. Storage path is where lib Prometheus. This is the blank directory that we created here. And configuration file, it will check this file. And usr local bin Prometheus. This is the command. It will execute here. Okay. Let me copy here this file and paste it over here. After that, we can create a new service. Thus, we need to reload the daemon. Obviously, created a new service, so we need to reload the daemon of systemd. After that, let's start the node exporter service. It should be a Prometheus services. Let me copy here. I will correct it. I will correct, don't worry. It would be worth to enable the services. Obviously, if you're not going to enable, then it will not start by default, right? After that, post checks. Let's check the Prometheus service is running or not fine. Okay, it is active and running. Congratulations, guys. You have installed the Prometheus server in a few seconds or in a 1 minute, not more than 5 minutes, to be very honest, right? After that, what we can do here for more troubleshooting, you may execute the below command generalctl -eu node exporter. I should move to Prometheus here. This is the mistake here. Prometheus dot service. You can see all the values here and how you can go in the right hand side. Just press the right arrow button like this way. You will observe the full line here. When you go out, it's left here. Okay. Control C. Post check. We can also check the URL is working or not. It says graph found. It means that it is opening. Let's go down here. Open the web portal, and this is the IP address of my virtual machine. IPA. Where is my IPA? It is here. As you can see here that ENP0S3. I have this IP address 192.168.1.31. If you are in cloud machine, then you can use localhost. It will open here. But for me, I'm running this virtual machine on my virtual box. For that reason, I need to specify the IP address here. Let me open the IP here and then colon 9090. I should see my Prometheus web portal here. Let's go to our GitHub page here and I need to sudo vi. No need to use sudo because I'm executing by root user. I don't require sudo here. But if you're installing with normal user, then you need to execute use sudo. Now, as I mentioned in my theory part, the first section is for global. The second is alerting here. For now, you can just skip this part. I will cover. In the rule file, I need to specify some rule. I will show you in later slide. Don't worry. And scrap config. Here I can see job name Prometheus. It is by default. This is by default. Static config file target localhost. If you want, you can use your own IP address. This VM IP address here. Okay. If you wish, you can change its IP to a VM IP address, and my IP is this one. Let it be like this one. Okay. There are three blocks of the configuration file in the configuration file: global, rule file, and scrap config. Global I have already mentioned in my theory part, so I'm not going to cover here. You can also check the syntax of the file. Yes, this line is my favorite. This command is my favorite one. The reason behind it is that, let me quit here. If I did any mistake, I can check here. As you can see here that when I execute this command, it says it's successful. It means there is no configuration. I can reload the Prometheus configuration file obviously when I'm going to add anything in my configuration file or modifying, or if I delete any syntax or any line, then I need to reload the my Prometheus services. There are two options here, kill all minus hub Prometheus. Let me show you here. This is what you can do here, or you can use systemctl command because we have already created the service, dedicated service for Prometheus, right? My VM master1.example.com has the IP address of 192.168.1.31 and this VM is running on my laptop. So I will use my VM IP address. This is what I have already mentioned you. If I use this Prometheus page here, I see the config, all my config file. How you can directly go here? You can also go directly here, status, and then configuration file. You see all the configuration here. What is mentioned here? Scrap intervals, scrap timeout, scrap protocols, what protocol it is using here, evaluate intervals, all these information, what it is taking by default. You can see here, status and then configuration file. Okay. One metric that Prometheus exporter about it's called prom st blah 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 blah. Okay. When I click on graph, I can execute any metrics. If I write up, it says my local instance which is working on 1990 is up. 1 means up, 0 means down. That's it. What other command you can use? You can just type anything or you can check CPU. Process CPU second per second. You can check here. These are the metrics name. I will explain you. Don't worry. It is coming by default with the Prometheus. When we install the Prometheus, I just want to monitor the Prometheus server itself. And this Prometheus is installed on my VM. All these metrics are belongs to Prometheus itself only. So these are the binaries that are coming by default when we install the Prometheus server. Okay. You can also execute this one here. All these commands you can check here. If you click here, open Metrics Explorer, go thread, you can execute anything here. It's 8 thread here. Okay. This is my graph and this is my alert. I will show you in couple of other slide once we completed all things. Graph is here and here in the graph section you will see table and graph. I can use graph here. Let me put here 1 up execute and it says up. It's up from this second or minutes. And if you want to use as a table, then you can use table here, table and graph here. That's it. Okay. So this is how we can install the Prometheus and how we can navigate. All these steps are here. Targets. When we add the targets, we can use status and check the target here. As of now, I just added on local host machines. It says it is up and these are the metrics it is using here. Rules, as of now we have not defined any rules here. Let me show you in my configuration file here, cat etc prometheus and prometheus YAML file. As of now both are hash commented out. In Linux this hash means comment. For that reason I don't see anything here. Once we configure the rules I will see here the rules. How we can use here command line flag, time series database status. It says that this is my time series database server. All the values are good. It look like good. Runtime and build information. Here you can see working directory is slash configuration reloaded successful. All these parameters you can see here. And here alert manager, you don't see any alert manager because we have not configured as of now. So once we configure, we will see alert manager information here. I will show you in my coming slides or in my coming lesson. We will complete these things. Okay. At the end of this lesson, now we are able to answer these questions. What are the system requirements? So we can say that 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM and 20 GB hard disk. How we can download the Prometheus binary. Go to the Prometheus web portal and copy the link and then use wget command. That's it. And after I untar the file, you will observe the binary packages. Third question would is what configuration file is needed? Obviously prometheus.yaml file. By default, it is located inside the etc prometheus directory located here. How you can start and verify systemctl start prometheus server, or we can execute the command that I mentioned in my theory part here. This one. And also we can open the portal. If you're using cloud VM, then you can use localhost instead of IP address of your VM. That's it for this lesson. If you like this video, please like this video. And if you want to help me, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you can see my new videos. Thank you. Bye bye.